Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dhiriyat Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita by Srila Goswami, Volume 1, Chapter 35. Prabhupada was in Gainesville and now he traveled from Gainesville to further. Having visited half a dozen cities in a little more than a month's time, Srila Prabhupada was planning next to visit London. Clearly, his field had become the entire world, and his traveling was a practical enactment of his conviction that Krishna consciousness should be given to people everywhere. By Prabhupada's wide traveling and bold preaching, the old idea that the Bhagavad Gita and Krishna were only for the Hindus had become an anachronism, a prejudice. Barriers of race, religion, nation, sex, class, all were now down. The Hindu saying that a Swami should not cross the ocean had become a superstition, intended perhaps to protect lesser Swamis, but certainly never to restrict the message of the absolute truth from being spread. Yeah, so this is still a saying. Sannyasi should not cross the ocean. Sannyasi should not travel by any vehicle. Sannyasi should wear these kind of clothes only. It is a non-stitched clothes. But before Prabhupada, even Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he just completely disregarded it. He said preaching is most important aspect. And Prabhupada went further. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj never took the flight out of India, but Prabhupada is traveling. He traveled all over the world. In 12 years, he traveled, I think, 18 times all over by flights. Because the purpose was to preach the message of Bhagavad Gita. It wasn't just to be a sannyasi, they're preachers. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's express desire was that in every town and village of the world his name be heard, and no Vedic injunction could prohibit that. Of course, the Vedic literatures advise the devotee to live in a secluded place and avoid worldly men and women, and they advise the devotee not to disturb the minds of innocent persons who preach to the faithless. According to one Vedic injunction, a devotee should not even see the face of a non-believer. Such rules and regulations, however, intended mainly for the protection and purification of the neophytes, were superseded by a stalwart acharya acting on the higher principle of compassion. And in support of that higher principle, Lord Krishna had promised, "My devotee shall never be vanquished." The surrendered preacher, taking up Lord Chaitanya's highest order, would be immunized against contamination, despite regular contact with worldly persons. Even at the risk of his own spiritual life, the preacher approached worldly people, and in return, Krishna protected him. So this is also something Prabhupada did, was amazing. A sannyasi, first of all, should not live in a house, he should live in a separate hut. But Prabhupada lived in homes with his even female disciples. Maldi Mataji and Govinda Mataji. They even drove Prabhupada alone in the car to different places. Sannyasi should not be seen with a female disciple alone in a car. And in the house, he would be in the house, male disciples had gone for Sankirtan, Matajis would be cooking for him. Prabhupada was really revolutionary. He's a preacher. And in fact, one sannyasi from South India, from Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, he once said for the devotees of ISKCON, he said, the amount of risk that you guys take in preaching to the worldly people, and for sannyasis of even brahmacharis, preaching to Matajis. it's amazing that you're still being protected. Yeah, like you're being protected against Maya. Some fall down, no doubt. It happens. But first of all, they are preaching. They're in the line of duty in the war-like situation. Krishna still will be there at their rescue sooner or later. So, because they have understood the purpose of Krishna, purpose of Prabhupada's mission. Yes, one should be very, very careful, especially in a war-like situation with worldly-minded people. And just like um, once Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Prabhupada and other devotees, I think it was in London, they were invited to somebody's house for prashadam. It was a Indian family and very rich Indian family. And they served prashadam to Prabhupada and disciples in silver plates, everything made of silver, pure silver. So Prabhupada, as usual, he had prashadam, he talked to the family members. And when they came out, in the car, Tamal Krishna Maharaj told Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, we should have this kind of cutlery or the plates and everything, so we could serve you in silver plates. Prabhupada said, it's a nice instruction for all of us. Don't be envious of that family, of the wealth of that family. Don't be envious. He could feel the enviousness. And then he said, if Krishna wants, he can give you the whole world. What to speak of the few plates? He can give you the whole world. But the question is, what are you going to do with it? Means we have to be qualified, non-attached. Then Krishna can give anything. He doesn't want his devotee getting entangled in material things again. So Krishna can give anything. Prabhupada himself showed by the example. Krishna gave him everything. He came practically penniless to America. Now so many temples, and he himself said earlier, I have a house in every city of the world, and I have so many servants in every house. I don't even have to pay them. Who could be more richer? Who could be richer than I am? But that kind of renunciation, non-attachment, and pure devotion, that is what makes a devotee dear to Krishna. And Krishna is very with Krishna. Uktaram yakitapsam sarva lok maheshwaram. He's a proprietor of everything. He's Jagannath. So what is it that he cannot give for his devotees? But devotee has to be qualified. Prabhupada was merciful to everyone, everywhere. Therefore, he was Jagat Guru, the spiritual master for the entire world. To become Jagat Guru didn't mean to claim that one was better than everyone else, or that he was the best guru in the world. Jagat Guru meant that, like Narad Muni, a preacher of Krishna consciousness, went everywhere, preached everywhere, and had disciples everywhere. And Srila Prabhupada did that. On arriving at one US airport, Srila Prabhupada had mentioned the yogis had formerly traveled in 3 different ways: by flying carpet, by pigeons, and by mantra. Then why you have come today on American Airlines? The reporter had challenged. Just to be one with you, Srila Prabhupada had said, smiling. They could travel by pigeons also. Yogis could travel. But that Prabhupada had come by jet instead of some extraordinary mystic power was actually no less miraculous. The miracle was that he was always traveling, and then wherever he went, he spoke the message of Krishna consciousness, created faith in the faithless, and transformed the low-grade persons of Kali Yuga into pure Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada, in addition to his selfless, compassionate traveling, was also offering volumes of transcendental literature. His disciples in 65 centers, 65 already in 1971, around the world were gratefully accepting the role of assisting him, assuring him that they were able to preach to the people in their areas and that he should feel confident to go on opening new frontiers of Krishna consciousness and presenting more and more transcendental literature. His disciples especially wanted him to have time for translating Srimad Bhagavatam because he had told them that that was his desire. Often he said that if he could simply spend time translating Srimad Bhagavatam, he would stop traveling. He could not stop traveling for very long, however. Even if he found enough peace and suitable place for concentrating on the Bhagavatam, duty would call. Again, he would have to travel, to see new people, to introduce Sankirtan in a new place, to ensure that his movement was progressing smoothly. So much of trouble. Of course, Prabhupada said it's not trouble. This is pleasure to serve Krishna, to struggle for Krishna. But considering his age and his desire that he wanted to translate Bhagavatam, write his commentaries, but he had to keep on traveling. It's not at all easy. You might think it is easy. It's not at all easy. Especially when you're 75 and then going to different countries with different time zones, weather-wise, and then motivating disciples and preaching to the newcomers, preaching to uh, important people, rich people, government people. Not easy at all. Prabhupada therefore had developed a routine of translating Srimad Bhagavatam anywhere he went, for at least a few hours a day. He had a briefcase with Sanskrit Bhagavatams and commentaries and a suitcase with a dictating machine. Wherever he was, he would rise in the middle of the night, sit at his desk with his dictating machine and Sanskrit and Bengali volumes, and take up where he had left off, translating the verses into English and composing his Bhaktivedanta purports. Thus, his busy traveling and his translating were able to go on simultaneously. Chapter 36, In Every Town and Village, London, August 1971. From Florida, this remote corner of the world, Prabhupada returned to New York and after 3 days flew to London. There he became ill. On August 14, he wrote to Tamal Krishna. I'm sick here since the last 4 days. There is no sunshine. Almost always there is darkness and rain. So it has affected my health because I'm already rheumatic. Prabhupada said he wanted to retire from traveling and management. This body is old, it is giving warning. But he didn't have sufficient confidence that his leading managers could push on without his pushing them. Prabhupada complained to his secretary, Shyam Sundar, criticizing him and the other zonal secretaries for not producing and distributing his books on a large scale. Why are there no books? Prabhupada demanded. And Shyam Sundar cringed, unable to give a satisfactory answer. Shyam Sundar said he would immediately write to his godbrothers on the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. Why have a book trust? Prabhupada argued. What have they done? There is no stock of big books. There are no literatures in foreign languages after years of promises and plans. Why hasn't the unabridged Bhagavad Gita as it is been printed yet? Well, Shyamsundar said, because no, it's your responsibility, Prabhupada. Why haven't you done it? Prabhupada chastised his GBC secretaries around the world through the one secretary before him. The GBC's duties were to see that Prabhupada's books were always in stock, that Back to Godhead magazine was being published regularly, that accounts were being paid regularly, and that the devotional life in the temples was healthy. Our business is how to expand, said Prabhupada, how to introduce Krishna consciousness into education circles. Let any philosopher, scientist, or educationist come. We have got enough stock. But this sleeping, this leisurely work will not do. They can learn activity from an old man like me, because my determination is like this. If I die working, it's a great credit, just like a marshal. If he dies on the battlefield, it's his credit. Arjun was told, even if you die, you're still the gainer. This process, this slow process of printing is the most condemned position. Why should I go on translating when you cannot print? You say retire and translate, but why should I translate? No one will ever be able to see it. I can give you volumes. There is Dai Nippon who will print in Japan on credit. So why don't you print? Always. It is to be done. It is to be done. That's all. And big men complaining. Either he goes or I go. This restlessness, this diversion has to stop. When the father is providing, it's a duty of the son to serve. I'm the father. I'm giving you everything. Why don't you serve me by printing these books? If one book only is read and understood, that is sufficient to make him Krishna conscious. Don't you see how important it is? So he always stressed on books, book distribution, reading of books, because the philosophy one has to understand. And when one understands a philosophy, then he becomes steady. He doesn't go away. They're always asking me, is such and such book bona fide? They can't even take the time to read one of my books, and still they ask for one of my god brother's books. How will things go on? First canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is not even edited or corrected, but to speak of printed. So many books unprinted. So tell them, from the book fund, not a farthing should be for eating. Everything should be for books, printing. One day, Advaita, the manager of ISKCON Press, called from New York with some good news. In a week, they would be sending Dai Nippon the negatives of 5 big books. ISKCON Press had also sent a shipment of German Ishopanishad to Europe, and other foreign language books were forthcoming. Prabhupada was pleased, and Shyamsundar informed his GVC godbrothers. Needless to say, this was just the medicine required to treat Prabhupada's slackening faith in us. Things are looking up, but still Prabhupada encourages us all to write up these reports and to get a clear all-around picture of the total book situation. Although Prabhupada's health was still weak, he felt heartened to hear that his books were being printed, and he continued with his translation and commentary of Srimad Bhagavatam. Ranchod. One night I was up very late, 1 o'clock in the morning. As I came in, I saw that Prabhupada's lights were on in his front room. I could hear his voice speaking into the dictating machine. I came up the stairs, being as quiet as possibly could. So Prabhupada would know that I was up so late. But as I passed his door, I couldn't resist the temptation to just stop and listen for a while. I tried looking through the keyhole, but couldn't see anything. So I just listened to Prabhupada's voice as he was dictating Srimad Bhagavatam. Then all of a sudden he stopped. I suppose he was just thinking about what he was going to say next. But then I got the full feeling that he knew I was out there, listening through the door. I became frightened and went up the stairs as quietly as I could. Although the stairs creaked, everyone was asleep, not only the temple, but practically the whole city of London at 1 o'clock in the morning. But Prabhupada was awake and translating. He had been speaking quietly, but with a voice of great strength and determination. All during the day, he was under pressure to organize things and see people. And yet at night, one time, when he could have some peace and quiet, he was up dictating. That's one service. Amazing service. And his purpose, it was so wonderful, crisp, clear, very simple language that he used and gave the whole philosophy. And none of his purports, nowhere. He said, I believe, I think, perhaps, nothing. Fixed, to the point. For the scriptures and according to previous acharyas. In London, Prabhupada began a book on the Western philosophers, beginning with Socrates. Every morning, Shyamsundar would present a synopsis of a major philosophy to Prabhupada. And for several hours, Prabhupada would discuss the philosophers' major points from the light of Krishna consciousness. Daily, Shyamsundar was busy transcribing the morning discussions and preparing the next philosopher. On August 14, Srila Prabhupada observed Janmashtami, the birthday of Lord Krishna. On the next day, Prabhupada's own 75th birthday, a paperback book of collected homages by his disciples arrived. Many of the Vyasa homages praise Srila Prabhupada for his extensive traveling to deliver fallen souls all over the world and for the vast scope of his merciful preaching. This year you have been traveling to India personally speaking and managing ISKCON and showing us the meaning of Acharya by example. And now you're traveling and inspiring the devotees and centers in the US and Europe. At Vyas Puja time, we, your intimate children, are gathered at your feet to tell you our feelings as best as we can. By your blessings, we can go forth from this Vyas Puja gathering of 1971 and all devotees together as one great ISKCON, without fraction, truly perform the work with our thoughts, words, and deeds. Let us go and distribute this literature of Srila Prabhupada's Krishna's message, kindly delivered to the Western country. Let us cooperate without ill feelings among ourselves. Let us very strictly observe all regulative principles and stay as pure representatives. Let us celebrate pure Sankirtan and magazine distribution to please you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All your disciples pray that you will remain in our presence for many years to come. And by our cooperation, you'll be able to spend time writing volumes of Bhagavatam while we carry on the program and mission of your Guru Maharaj. See, this was a mode, seeing Prabhupada. And let's forget about our differences, come together and do what Prabhupada wants. This is how disciples make progress, actually. Not doing our individual things, together. And then together there is more force, more cooperation, more preaching. Prabhupada's ill health continued. I was sick for 4 or 5 days. Now I am a little better, but the disease is prolonging in a different way. I cannot sleep at night more than 2 hours. And during the day, sometimes I am feeling some dizziness. Otherwise, everything is all right. I'm chanting Hare Krishna as usual and writing my books regularly. Okay, so I guess I can stop here. See anybody have any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisance. Not
Hare
a
Krishna.
question, but just a thought while going through these purports and all. So Prabhupada went through these many struggles, family struggle, then financial struggle, then health struggle, and everything. And we get disturbed with small struggle in our life, Prabhuji. This is like so difficult how we will carry his orders.
Yeah, we have very small struggles looking at Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Still we get overwhelmed.
Yes.
That's why this Prabhupada Lilamrita is a very nice book. One should read it. And then this gives a motivation to do more.
True, Prabhuji. True.
And we should do more and more, as more than what we can think of.
Actually.
And Prabhupada will give guidance, intelligence, strength, everything he will give if you want to do more.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. You're also getting a lot of effort for our.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything. What I'm doing. Chalo, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri
Thank you,
Prabhupada.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.